right, Carlton. So we were sort of talking beforehand. You obviously enjoyed this episode. You noticed some things about Henry. What was some of the stuff that stuck out when you listened to it?
Yeah. So, for those of you who don't know, Henry is making name for himself by making micro content, and so he talks some about like attention discrimination. There's different platforms that get some attention, and then others that get you know maybe a different type of attention, like a 4 hour episode that some people do isn't going to appeal to others. And so I think just the way that he approaches thinking about content and selecting what's really good and highlighting that and finding ways to capitalize on it is super interesting.
Yeah, the attention discrimination thing was interesting because first of all, the word he Henry, I would say Henry is really good at coining terms that elicit an emotional response. So
Yeah.
like putting the word discrimination in something related to content, I think is just
And
it's going to
squatter
get.
marketing, something like
Squatter
that.
marketing was my favorite part,
Yeah.
and yeah, explain squatter marketing real quick.
So
Obviously, he gets into it.
yeah, I mean he gets into the whole story, but it's basically deciding that you are going to be someone's marketer, and then squatting and
Whether they hire
marketing,
you or
whether
not.
they hire you or not, and whether they
Yeah.
pay you or not, even if they're a billionaire. And so yeah, it's
Oh,
just this idea of like putting yourself and deciding and making the
yeah,
choice on your side that you're going to be their provider.
yeah, and he gets into exactly how they started doing this, who they're doing it for, which was really really interesting. Shout out All In if you have ever heard of that.
He needs to,
And
what he needs to do is squatter invoicing. That's that's the next thing he
yes,
should do.
well, and he talked about how he kind of is because, well, I don't want to give it away, but long story short, the squatter marketing provides probably a bigger ROI than any other paid campaign that they could do
Absolutely.
in order to get similar awareness. So yeah, really interesting stuff. I thought Henry he was just different than what I was expecting. He was really bright, energetic, which uh, you know that part wasn't surprising. I think it was just his calm demeanor for someone his age, and I got the sense he was a lot older than what he actually is as he's building this business. So I thought it was a really good episode.
Cool. Let's jump in.
On this episode, we have Henry Belcaster. Henry is a co-founder of Clipt.co, which is a recruiting service that helps you find really talented video editors. On this episode, Henry tells us his entire story from starting the business during COVID, going from being on unemployment to producing clips and content for the likes of the My First Million pod, the All In pod, Anna Fabrega, lots of other social media type celebrities that you've probably heard of. And Henry really gets into the details of how they started the business, why they started the business, and how they're building it to really fit their own core values. I really enjoyed this episode with Henry Belcaster, and I think you will too. Let's dive into it with Henry from Clipped. All right, we've got Henry Belcaster on the show, the legend, the YouTube mastermind. I don't know exactly what to mogul
Mogul, mastermind,
himself. Henry, thanks for joining the show.
empress.
Empress, usually
Thanks for having me, Adam.
reserved for the female. I like that. I like just taking that over.
Hey,
Dude, so it's so good to have you on. Very excited to have you. I don't know how much you remember. We've DM'd a few times, but we on our side of things have been fascinated watching what you and Dylan have been doing over the last, what is it, year, 18 months, 2 years? I don't even know.
I don't even know, dude. We started July, maybe a year. Call it a year. Let's
Okay.
use round numbers.
Yeah, so we've been following along the journey, and it's been very exciting. Henry, for those of you who are not watching the video, is currently in a van doing this from his van, and very exciting about the nomad thing. So lots going on, but Henry, as I kind of explained to you, our entire show is based around this idea that content can lead to so much more. It can lead to business, it can lead to opportunities, whatever. And you all are the perfect example of that, because there are like 2 million podcasts. I think last year, 860,000 podcasts published an episode. And somehow out of that, you and Dylan, who you can tell the story, but I think we're just friends doing a podcast together, built an entire business out of it. How did that come together?
It's so much worse than that. It's so much sillier than that.
Okay.
I was I was so I was taking like a gap year. I was taking a year off, and Dylan was leaving a place of employment because it was mid-pandemic, and he wanted to start a podcast, and he wanted to do it with another friend. It wasn't even me.
Okay.
And so he calls up our much goofier friend to start this podcast, Smart Nonsense. That friend doesn't answer the phone. He calls me next. I'm like, screw it. I'm on a year off, gap year after college. Um, I'm not doing anything, so sure,
Oh,
I'll do
wow.
the podcast. I didn't know I was second choice,
Right.
but that's as silly as it was and how it started.
That's awesome.
Um, but yeah, no, we were both. It made sense now in hindsight, looking back. Like we were the two of all of our kind of college friends. We were the only two entrepreneurs. Like the two that wanted to start something or build a personal brand, or I don't know, just we were very much like anti rat race.
Okay.
So looking back in hindsight, it makes sense that we found each other like that, and then we've become like 10x as good of friends since.
Yeah, good
So yeah,
enough to
that
have
was the genesis of the Smart Nonsense
good enough to have a
podcast.
great business around. So, recruiting note from Dylan, just like call people until somebody answers. I love that. And then just, start businesses with them. So you start this show. It's kind of like a goofy, whatever, what are you learning? What am I learning? Or that's what I've kind of gotten from it, right? Type
Yeah,
idea, sharing ideas.
it's like Gen Z's all fucked up. We're Gen Z. Can I swear on here? Is that
Sure.
cool? Okay, sure. Bleep it if not. But Gen Z's all messed up. We're like, okay, we see some kind of light at the end of the tunnel for Gen Z. Like we've got this amazing thing, the internet. But we're right in the middle of Gen Z and millennials. So it's like we grew up with kind of the brilliance of the internet, but we're not so Gen Z'd out that we're like this all day
Mhm.
long. So we're like, if we can be the guide for Gen Z, teach them entrepreneurship, self-development, and how to challenge norms, because like so many of our peers were just sheep, especially at like elite colleges. That for us was like our purpose. Let's help Gen Z crush it, because like we're right on the fence of Gen Z and millennials who kind of understand the world a bit better.
I have a good delineation to tell you which category you're in. Did you see the Super Bowl, the halftime show?
Yes, only I started at the halftime show.
Did you
Yes,
like the halftime show?
I love the halftime
Okay, so
show.
you skew millennial. I feel like that's the easy.
There you
If you
go.
liked it, you have some of that in you.
I got goosebumps when Lose Yourself came
Oh,
on,
so
because
great.
I was just like, this is 2003. This is 2005. Like
Yeah,
if you're my sister's age, she's 3 years younger than me. She probably didn't know what half those songs
yeah.
were.
It was a very clear dividing
You know,
line. If you were following along
I
on
love
like
that.
Twitter or something like that, if you liked it, you have some millennial tendencies. Okay, so you start the show. It's
Well, really quick,
yeah.
I logged off of Twitter because I was sick of all the people talking about the Coinbase ad, as
Oh,
brilliant as it was.
yeah.
I was like, I'm not watching the Super Bowl through Twitter. This is
I was one
ridiculous.
of those simps. I didn't scan it because I was like, this, I'm not doing this. Like I know what this is. And then as soon as I found out it was Coinbase, and I was like, oh, so brilliant. But yes.
Dylan, yeah, we texted. I was like, man, why didn't we think of that?
Yeah.
It is brilliant.
Yeah.
$1 million idea.
Literally. Well, probably more. Yeah. Okay, so you guys have the show, you're sharing ideas, but there's like still a huge, I mean, lots of people have shows like that, right? So there's this leap between that and you guys have, correct me, is it Smart Nonsense, or does that still the business, or that's just the media and then Clipped is the business?
Clipped is just the
Clipped is a
business
business. Okay.
now.
Got it.
And I laugh because it has been a tumultuous 2 months going from Smart Nonsense last year, Smart Nonsense Media, the thing we started, to rolling all of that up into this new thing,
Got it.
Clipt.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, how did that happen though? Like how did you go from the pod to the company?
Pod to the company. Okay, so we're shooting the pod. I'm living on Dylan's floor
Mm,
in an apartment we moved into together in Chicago. I've got my own startup at the time. We live with my other co-founder who's working on that startup with me. Dylan's what was Dylan doing? He was just doing the podcast all day, and we were both on unemployment, but we're running out of money. Yeah, he was just doing the podcast. And at the same time, we were getting really into these like self-development books, like 4 Hour Work Week, The Magic of Thinking Big was one, but mostly the 4 Hour Work Week.
Mhm.
And that's when Dylan, he had so much time. We had these crazy unemployment checks. But he really started applying the learnings of the 4 Hour Work Week. And it was like, okay, we've got this podcast. We love doing this podcast. We're shooting it daily, but it's really hard to produce a podcast every single day.
Oh, it was daily.
So then he's
Wow.
like, all right, I'm reading the 4 Hour Work Week. Yeah, it was daily. We're like, it's already hard enough to sit down and record these things and come up with ideas and be entertaining and this, that, or the other. It's another beast to then go home that evening and like produce the
Yeah.
whole thing, as I'm sure you know. So he starts applying these 4 Hour Work Week findings, which is like, what aspects of my life can I outsource or delegate? Mind you, this is also kind of the blessing of the timing. This is mid-pandemic. The world's blowing open. The idea that you can work with a video editor on the other side of the world is new. Most people do this in-house. So Dylan starts finding folks in the Philippines that would be able to. Okay, let me get this right. So we shoot a podcast. Say we upload it to Google Drive at 3 p.m. It's 12 hours later in the Philippines. So when we go to sleep here, they're waking up. They can edit the thing. We wake up the next day, we've got an episode in our inbox. Dylan finds that. This like magical nugget of time
Yeah.
travel. And that kept blowing our mind. So we did that. We found this superpower. It's like, wow, we can really cost effectively produce this podcast daily. And we just have to sit down for 20 minutes and shoot the
Yeah.
thing. So that's when we started to have an inkling that there was something there. Dylan then didn't really want to do anything with that. I mean, obviously in an ideal world, the podcast would have taken off, my vlog would have taken off, and we would have had personal brands. We know like a personal brand is the way out. We can talk about that later. But then what happened was we started running out of money, and we're like, all right, we got to figure out something here. We got to start something. I was folding my cards with another startup, wasn't working out. And at the same time, the My First Million guys, do you know that podcast?
Yeah.
My First Million?
We actually just had
Um,
on, let's see, I don't know when this will come out, but we just had on Ethan Brooks from The Hustle, who is a writer for that. So it was kind of a behind the curtain thing.
Yeah, we've done some clips for Ethan.
Yeah. Oh yeah, cool.
So My First Million, we're running out of money. My First Million podcast is like, we don't know how to do video. We want to grow our podcast. We don't know how to be a video podcast. So it's like, that's when Dylan and I saw this opportunity. We have this superpower. We get video podcasting. We figured out how to create a system that just automatically produces a podcast every single day. MFM doesn't get it. So let's just commit to showing them what we could do for them. That's like we could have an entire podcast episode about that event. But long story short, through proof of work, through our content, we showed them we could do it.
Well, but we gotta like just touch on it because they even talked about it on their show, and so I think that might be how I first like came in contact with you. And for quick context for you, I came from
true
the ad agency world. I worked at VaynerMedia, and then I started this company about 5 years ago. So we've gotten into, Johnny, cut all this, me telling this, but we do similar things in that we produce podcasts for brands and stuff like that. And so I like when they put out the call, okay, Johnny, you can come back. So when the My First Million guys put out the call for the video thing, I was like, wow, it's super interesting, and we've helped professional athletes in the past and things like that, but it was COVID, and I was just like, man, I wonder how that's going to work out. And then they're like, yeah, these guys flew to our house and
you're right.
So it was a great story.
We must go into it because, right, you're talking about how content, you can rule the world with content. And that's exactly what we did. We said, we're messaging these guys on Twitter like, hey, we'll do the work, whatever. And they're like, are you guys serious? Right. Are you stalking? Like, what can, like, And then Dylan and I realized, oh, they have no idea what we can
Right.
do. It's a classic, like, actions speak louder than words, and we're just giving them words. So like, can these guys really deliver? Who's this? He's got a silly profile picture, whatever. So we're like, okay, content is our way in. It's the only thing that by tomorrow we can show these guys, hey, we're real. We can do this. We've done it before. Let's show them proof of work, exactly what it would look like in their terms, and let's use content to do that. So I race out of the apartment because, we kind of got our foot in the door with them. They're responding to us on Twitter. I race out of the apartment. I shoot a vlog on, like, here's exactly what we can do for you guys. Use this camera, use this, preamp, use this microphone. I'll set up your studio so it's in one switch. I'll show you all of that through content. While I was out shooting that, Dylan was working with some of his editors in the Philippines, AJ in particular, to come up with edits for My First Millions clips to show them exactly what an edit would look like if we were
So
to do
just
it for
like
them.
taking their content
And that's where we
and making edits out of stuff that was already existing, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And easier than that, we weren't just taking random content. We went to YouTube. We went to YouTube, went to My First Million, sorted their page by most popular content, and found like a 4-minute clip. It was about Sam and meeting the Silk Road founder. So we're like, let's just do what already worked and put it in our terms, right? Show them what we can do. And that's where we kind of found our synergy. Is like, oh, I can use my vlog to get people's attention, show them we're real, show them I'm legit, that I can do stuff and we're authentic. Dylan can use these editors he's got, same thing. We can do all that, and the next day we can have all this produced. So we can say one thing on Twitter, and the next day have a vlog and like a sample of what we can do.
So powerful.
And that blew their mind. Yeah, that's blown most people's minds. Dylan and I were just saying, we should start like an incubator or something, because my girlfriend is applying to a job at an art company, a design firm, and she wasn't necessarily qualified for the role. She doesn't have the experience. It's a shoe design position. So what did she do all weekend? She put together a pitch deck with exactly the shoe designs she would pitch them. I had her outsource some 3D renders so that they could actually see what she can do.
Wow.
And it's like, that's how you get your foot in the door. Give them the content.
I love that proof of work language that you hear a lot in the crypto space or whatever, but applying that to just normal business work, normal work of life. And what I love about you guys' story is that, and I think this was your intent too, but most people when they start a podcast are like, yeah, I'm going to start a podcast, get famous, get advertisers, build a business that way. And like that works and is cool and seems to be super cool. I can't say that, I've never done it, but there are all these other things that can be built, all these other concepts, all these other companies, all these other connections, alliteration. And just from, paying, I didn't mean to do that. just from paying attention to the opportunities as they come. And that's what you guys did. So speaking of iterations and continuing to move, you start there, then you kind of begin this process of pulling clips, doing that for other companies. And then how did that evolve into what you're doing today, which you can describe what that is better than I can, but it seems like, pulling clips for shows or podcasters or content creators, and helping them promote them.
Correct. Yeah. No, and you nailed it there. I want to touch on that. This idea that, like, yeah, it'd be brilliant to start a podcast or a vlog and wake up in a week and have 5 million listeners and 10 million subscribers. It'd be great. What's also great is, like, we have very small audiences. We get to target the exact people we want, and we've spun it into a business. And we would have never thought that would have happened. So we're definitely we definitely play that right.
We're the
we take
working
the long
man's
game
content creator,
approach.
and probably need to make some t-shirts out of that too. But
Yeah.
that's
working man's. I like it. Okay, so we go to MFM, we do the thing. They're stoked. Everybody's stoked except for Dylan. Dylan's not that stoked because he didn't want to start this.
okay.
He's like, I want a simple life. I want to make $100,000. He was at this point doing this kind of post-production stuff for his previous employer, getting paid handsomely, and life was pretty good. And I'm like, no, like there's just so much more here. Like people, if you want to talk about product market fit, people were like banging down our door to get what we were doing for My First Million. So we kind of baby stepped it over time, spun this thing into an agency, Smart Nonsense Media, the agency. But then we realized, okay, agencies kind of suck because everyone wants something a little bit different. Someone wants logo design. Somebody wants podcast clips that are 60 seconds. Another person wants a 4-minute YouTube video.
Mm-hmm.
The CTO of HubSpot wants a 10-minute YouTube video. Someone might want a long form. We're like, this is ridiculous. If we want to talk about the 4-hour work week, it's like, what's the one thing we can do that 10x's everything else? It's not getting on calls and talking about different projects all day long. So we're like, that's definitely not it. We're like, okay, how can we kind of be tech founders here? Let's niche down. Let's productize this thing. As an agency, let's sell one product. And for a while, that was a package of animated clips, 10 60-second clips per month.
Okay.
That's all we did. 10 for 10 clips for $10,000. So now we're a productized service, and we're like much happier about that because it's just one thing. You want it or you don't. That's all we do.
And this, just to continue to annotate,
and that was
but
great.
This is where I feel like you guys had a pretty big public surge. Like you were doing stuff for All In and Naval, right?
Okay. Well, I'm curious, what do you think we do for All In?
I have no idea. It seems like you just like go through and take stuff that essentially what you described you did for My First Million. You go in and take things that you think are interesting quotes and make them into animated versions, usually making Saks look good. That's what
Okay. And do you think Saks pays us?
I would imagine he does.
Okay, good. That's
Good.
the intention. So I keep forgetting to give you kind of the content gems here. Most all of our work came from doing the All In podcast clips, right? So they record a 2-hour podcast. We chop that up into bite-sized chunks that can be shared on Twitter, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, right? And we do that because like there's this attention discrimination thing where I've never listened to a 3-hour Joe Rogan podcast, but by God, I've seen clips of Joe Rogan on the internet, right? So it's like, it's just a different market. So let's hit that different market. The thing about All In is everybody came to work with us because they thought we were doing their clips. All In has never paid us. They've never asked for us to do anything. We just decided one day, All In's a client of ours now.
Yeah.
We're like, All In's our client, so let's treat him as such. So we put a team on him. We called it squatter marketing. Let's just act like they're our client and do all of their short form content. If they like it, if it's good enough, like the My First Million guys, if we put David Sachs' big face on it enough, he's going to share it. We tap into all of their eyeballs, all of their audience, right? The distribution, and it comes back in spades. So no, we've never been paid for All In. However, most everyone who's come to work with us thinks they're a client of ours, and it's like this crazy social proof.
And they have, they've more than, I'll have that term squatter marketing, but they've embraced you, right? To some, like they like it, and so like that I would say is worth its weight in gold. Just the promotion that they have given you that way.
Right. So it ended up being a really lucky, I guess, like organic growth hack. Now they just kind of bully Sachs about getting his Belcaster ransom because they call their clips Belcasters. So it took on this weird like fan fiction thing of its own, where David and I are like in love, and he's Scorsese and I'm his little editor. But no, that's another brilliant example of just doing free work.
Cool. So, all right, I keep it. Yeah, no, I keep
your question,
interjecting here. So like, then you pivot again, sort of, and you went from the productized service to That's where you were headed to what you are doing today.
Correct. So we niche down. We offer one thing. That's going great. Cash flow's awesome for the first time ever. Dylan and I start paying ourselves. We're like, this is it. And then a week goes by and we're like, this is definitely not it. It's it's this is also kind of like Dylan and I's ADD and in our everlasting search for product market fit. But it's just like the agency model.
Mhm.
It doesn't scale well, right? If we want 10 more clients, we need exactly 20 more animators, 15 more graphic artists, like all these things. There's just so many people involved.
You're
Not
preaching to
only
the
that, I
choir
mean,
here. Yeah.
VaynerMedia is what, 1,500 people, 2,000 people, chop, like
Right.
it doesn't scale nice. It also, if you take the 4-hour work week to be your Bible, it'll drive you mad in the sense that like we're on the phone all day, we're answering emails all day, we're in Slack all day. We're like, this is not we're not getting the best output for work we're
Mhm.
putting into this thing. And it scales very linearly. So then we realized something interesting, which is okay, most people aren't coming to us for these 10 animated clips. We're just dictating that that's what they have to do because that's our one product now. Most people are coming to us and DMing us because they don't know how to hire video editors on the internet.
Ah.
They don't know how to do this magical overnight editing outsourcing thing to the Philippines, for instance. And we keep turning people away because like we're like, that's not a
Mm.
problem we're solving. We just do animated clips. So we're like, huh, maybe we should listen again to the people banging down our door. There are a lot of people on the internet with video that don't know how to get it post produced. Maybe we should listen to them and start doing that. As opposed to the very small niche of the internet that wants these animated clips that are probably a fad. Turns out they were. So we're pivoting in that sense too. Where we're like, okay, let's get away from the agency. Let's get away from the animated clips. We can merge that whole thing into Clipt. And Clipt is the marketplace where people can hire our video editors directly full time.
Wow.
So no longer do we have to be an agency yelling at them about revisions and saying, nope, you only get 10 of these clips a month. Nope, they can only be 60 seconds. Now it's like, hey, we vetted these editors. They're on our platform. They're the best in the world. Do whatever you want with them.
Oh, that's so cool. I didn't realize that.
But be nice because we love our creatives. But other than that, work on any video projects you want.
Yeah, it makes so you've essentially become you just stripped out all the fat between the consumer desire, which was ultimately what Dylan discovered at the beginning, the time machine, and the fact that you all had these connections, these relationships, these resources. So are you actively recruiting over there, or is just people you already knew from your thing, or how did that come together?
Actively recruiting, yes. And you're spot on. That's exactly it. We're getting back to like,
Mm.
what was the magic? Every time Dylan and I get confused, we ask ourselves like, how would we scratch our own itch? How would we build this thing for ourselves so we would want to use it? And that goes back to day 0 of the podcast. If we're scratching our own itch, it's like we just want to upload content and we know the best editor in the world is taking care of it and it's going to be in our inbox tomorrow.
So cool.
Um, so that's what
That's
we're doing.
awesome.
Yeah. Remind me your question.
I don't remember, but awesome evolution.
Yeah.
Oh
Oh,
yeah,
are we
yeah.
actively recruiting? Are we actively recruiting? So like I said, we're in this kind of tumultuous phase of it's this funky thing where we're a platform now, we're a marketplace. We're like Fiverr or Upwork, but very hyper specific and focused on like real matchmaking. There's like too much crap going on at Fiverr and Upwork. It's hard to find someone. So it's been a really tumultuous 2 months in the sense that we had 50 people at Smart Nonsense Media, all totally primed to be the best agency teammates of all time, right? They loved game day and their benefits and Henry and Dylan always have your back and paid time off, like all these things. There's so much inertia from 50 people when it comes to saying overnight, hey, now we're a marketplace. your independent contractors on that thing. This is better for everyone in the long run. We know it. But it was a lot of change, and it took almost 2 months to unwind that, even with clients, trying to explain to them, yeah, we're no longer going to be in the middle. We're trimming out all this fat. You work directly with the your video editor. So it's been slow, but we're like finally the dust is
And by the
settling
way,
and
this is
we're
I can
building
speak
back
to
up.
this first person. I didn't know that's what you all are doing, but like we have a video editor in the Philippines, and it took us probably like from when we started to when he came on board, it was probably a 6-month process, and a ton of I know, but we didn't know what we were doing. Like if you knew what you were doing, or you had these connections or whatever, and we were so typically we just move, and but with hiring someone specifically on the other side of the country, I was so cautious, overly cautious. And anyway, it's worked out. Like, he's great, but the company we used, we would never use again. They had no clue what they were doing. The portfolios that they provided and just the entire process was a mess because they didn't understand what we do as like a creative company. So I could totally see where this process and this service you're offering has a ton of value for really anyone making on the internet. Because to your point, I don't know what's going on or what's in the water over there, but the editors are unbelievable. So like, we're super happy with them now, but the process was terrible.
Yeah, and think about that. You all get this, and it took you
Yeah.
6 months. Imagine the tech companies we're working with that have a marketing team but don't have any in-house editors. You
Right.
don't even know where to
Yeah.
start.
It's really cool.
Or back to the scratching our own itch. Imagine you're Dylan and I. You're starting your podcast from nothing. You're on unemployment. It's like, where do I go that's cost effective and is like time traveling? Before we did that, like there wasn't a good place
Mm-hmm.
to get that
Yeah,
done.
no, it's super, super valuable. Okay, so I want to flip now to just like your content. And I saw recently passed 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, which congrats, by the way. Like, that is so much work. And I think that's something to be celebrated. Um, and you all,
Well,
I
thank you.
think maybe still have the podcast. I haven't looked recently. Okay, so
Yep.
you've got that. Obviously,
Yep.
you already kind of unveiled the curtain on spec work, but how has that creation process helped you as you're working through where to take the business or where to find new customers or all those sorts of things?
I think the biggest way both the Smart Nonsense podcast and my vlog have helped is for the sole reason we started them. It was to be a daily diary of this craziness Dylan and I were doing, because it is crazy. Um, and in that daily diary, we found all this accountability. It's like, if we said something on the air, but nobody's paying attention, we still said it on the air and we want to see it through. Right. So if I tell my 1,000 subscribers, it seems small, but like imagine that's like, I don't know, a big
Oh,
auditorium's
it's
worth of people.
unreal.
I was going to say 5 chemistry lectures worth of people sitting around waiting
Mm-hmm.
for me to say something every day. Um, so on the accountability front, it's like, if I say something on the air on the vlog, well, we got to do it. There's no other choice. Um, so it's been like, to me, this awesome like driving force in, let's make a piece of content today instead of just consuming shit all day on TikTok and YouTube and whatnot. Let's make something. Let's put something into the world because it's hard. If we can do hard things, we'll be better off. Oh, and by the way, if we say something, now we're accountable for it. So it's going to be that fire under our
Mm-hmm.
ass to keep going. Um, that that to us has been the driving force. On top of that, we're scratching our own itch. We have these amazing editors that turn our stuff around overnight. Once you experience that magic, you can't undo it. I could never edit a video again. I can't, because it's
Yeah,
so hard. But now I specialize in telling a story for 30 minutes on camera a day. My editor specializes in chopping it up into a compelling narrative in 4 hours a day. And because the process is so magical, I just keep recording the vlog. That's
such
really
a
it.
great testimonial.
Um, So we hope that, yeah, there you
Yeah.
go. We'll put it on the site. But we hope our customers experience that same magic, and we think if we scratch our own itch, they
Yeah.
might.
Just to touch on what you were saying, I mean, the 1,000 people, especially people who haven't made anything, are like, oh, 1,000, like that's, whatever. And we just crossed 1,000 on our podcast, and this is off and on, but like, basically a 5-year effort to get to that point. And I
Oh
know
yeah,
how much work was gone into it. And to your point, just be, it's not Joe Rogan or whoever, but that's 1,000 real people with ears and like, jobs and stuff that they do, and they're listening. Like, it's crazy when you really think about it that way. But we just get numb to it,
it is
I think,
crazy.
with all the content that's around these days. But that's super cool.
It's so. Yeah, what I've realized in it is like when we look at the Casey Neistats, the Peter McKinnons, the Sarah Dietschys, the Marquez Brownlees of the world, we're like, I would love to be that. Peter McKinnon got 1 million subs in 1 year, but it's like that's the
Right.
anomaly. To get to that year, Peter McKinnon, I'm sure, made 10 years worth of content, didn't publish it, whatever. It's just like people need to stop expecting that this is going to happen in a month. We're like, it's going to be 5 years, right? In your case, 7 years, 10 years, 12 years. And then things will start to happening. Then things will start to snowball. So that's the other reason we love this kind of Clipped, yes, but this editing system we've set up is like it just
Yeah.
allows us to do this forever. And we know that the people in the game the longest are the ones that look like an overnight success
Yeah, and
in
end up
8
winning,
years.
right? It's just like a war of attrition at that point. But this has been awesome, Henry. Thank you so much for spending
Completely.
time with us. Before you van off into the nomad abyss, what aside from Clipped, obviously, what has you most excited right now, content wise, ideas wise, just in general? What has you most excited for the rest of the year?
Content wise, it's this exact
Mm.
thing. Consistency wins. We tell all of our clients this, like there are no shortcuts, just like there are no get rich quick schemes, there are no get rich growth schemes, right? With all the growth hacking we do. Um, so to finally see a year in and after 1,000 subscribers, it's like, oh, okay, consistency does win. That's very exciting to me. Other things, content wise, we're like actually just
Oh,
getting
cool.
into short form game. We kind of found our niche on Twitter, but now we're like in TikToks and YouTube Shorts. Loops are rocking my world. You say like at the end of a video, you just go like
Oh yeah.
because, and then it goes right back to the hook. I think that's sick. Trick people into watching things multiple times. I I think that's it. What's rocking my world this year and beyond is like build something with your best friend. I never thought that would be the case, but like the lows
Mm.
are really freaking painful and the highs are just crazy. I can't even like my girlfriend doesn't have all the context to understand
Mm.
what's going on from the day to day, but to have that co-founder who's like in the trenches with you,
So true,
that's the
man.
gold right there.
We
So
talk a lot
find that
about
co-founder, I
that
guess.
with my co-founder Derek, and we've normally, one of the nice things about having a co-founder is like when one is down, the other one's usually up. And I bet you all will see this over the years. We have found though that like every March, I don't know why, we both hit like a depressive state and are like, should we continue? So that's the goal
Uh-oh.
this year, is to not let that happen. I don't know how we're gonna do that, but at least you have somebody go through it.
Well, we've found that there's this maybe it's this maybe it happens in March, March Madness. Uh, we have this dopamine thing where your dopamine wants to be at some base level in your brain that's stable and average. The highs are
Yeah,
so high that they can only be canceled out by going into the
that's a good
craziest
point.
dopamine trough, right? So we'll have a week that is just bliss, and then the next
Yeah,
week is like, why are we doing this? What's this all for? And what it takes is to know, okay, in 10 years, none of this matters. My dopamine, those
yeah,
marches won't matter. Everything will even out and it'll
that's
all be
good. I
worth
hadn't,
it.
I hadn't thought
But
of that.
doing that
Oh,
alone,
it'd be
I
brutal.
can't even
Yeah.
imagine.
Well, Henry, this has been awesome. Where can people check out all the stuff that you've talked about today?
All the stuff. Go on my YouTube, Henry Belcaster. Same on Twitter. And if you really want, we hold nothing back on the Smart Nonsense podcast.
Yeah,
People
we'll
should
link
check
all of
that
that.
out. If you give us the microphone for an hour with two best buds, there's a lot there. So listen to the
Cool.
Smart Nonsense podcast, and hire our editors. They're on Clipt, clipt.co.
Yeah,
Anybody
as
can
I
now.
said, I've experienced not doing that. I don't think you offered the service when we did it, but and it's painful. So don't do what I did. And go to Henry's. Cool, man. Appreciate you. Thanks for coming on.
All right, Adam. Thank you.